With free agency approaching, it is important to keep culture in mind. And just what is the Calgary Flames culture?
You're Locked On Flames, your daily podcast on the Calgary Flames. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to today's episode of Locked On Flames. As always, I am your host, Jess Belmosto, and thank you so much for joining me here today. And today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Make every moment more. Right now, new customers get $200 in bonus bets with any winning $5 bet. That's $200 in bonus bets with any winning $5 bet. Visit FanDuel.com/lockedon to get started. Today, we're going to talk about culture and what it means for the Flames and how every team does it differently. Some get it super right and some get it, they might miss the mark a little bit. But it's important to have a healthy culture, and we're going to talk all about that. Make sure you're subscribed to Locked On Flames wherever you're getting your podcasts, as well as on YouTube. We are here for you Monday through Friday, 5 days a week, your team every day. So what is culture, right? Like everyone talks about it. Like the culture in our locker room is a good one. Well, what does that mean? I think every team wants to have that kind of reputation and presence of being like a tight-knit team that holds each other accountable, that gets along on and off the ice, that the communication is great, there's chemistry, and it's not just the locker room, but it's also people outside of the locker room and how maybe their wives and partners interact with each other and how they all kind of integrate. And I think that is very important, because you're with these people for 6 months out of the year. You're sharing hotel rooms, you're traveling long distances, you are coworkers, colleagues, and maybe roommates, depending. But when I was looking at free agency and like names that, are up there, it's some reputations do precede people, and some of it can just be embellished, some of it can be true, and some of it may not even actually be a thing. But I think it's important for the Flames to keep this in mind. I think it's really a priority for every team, but I think especially for the Flames, because you have to have something that keeps you grounded through this. And by this, I mean this phase of the Flames, this chapter of Calgary Flames hockey. And I think that, you want people who are proud to wear their flaming C on their chest. You want people to be excited to come to the Saddle Dome. Oh no, you have to drive 20 minutes to Winsport today? Great. 3 of us will pile in together and we'll go together. Like, you want it to be a family atmosphere, but not in like that toxic workplace we're all family sort of vibes. I think it's really important to just integrate, off ice activities into this. Like a few years ago, they went golfing to celebrate, I believe it was Troy Stetcher's birthday. It might have been Mangiapane's too. All of them. A few years ago, the Kadris and Lucic hosted a Christmas party. And that's something that like the veterans and their wives or their partners, whoever, kind of take charge of. So that's, something you want there. I think about the Colemans hosting Thanksgiving in Dallas because their trip happened to coincide with American Thanksgiving, and how I think like 90% of the team filed into Blake Coleman's backyard. And granted, this isn't just like an average person's backyard, so it's a little bit more spacious to host a gathering of large men, but it's things like that. You don't want a divided locker room. If you have been following this team for a while, I think one distinct moment for me when I think of a split locker room is back when Matthew Tkachuk flipped the puck at Jake Muzzin during the bubble season, and someone who was very much a leader in that locker room, they may have worn a letter. Mark Giordano said something along the lines of, you need to cut out the antics and, stop the shenanigans. Like, there's no need for this. And then, like, Sam Bennett and David Riddick were like, okay, that's, not the case. And then they traded Sam Bennett and David Riddick. So, like, to me, that could also just be an incredible coincidence, but the way things were trending at that time, I don't necessarily believe it to be. But we're like 3 years removed from that now, so we can focus on what the Flames are building now. They cleaned house. No more Brad Treliving. No more Daryl Sutter. You have Ryan Huska and Craig Conroy behind the bench. You have Jerome McGinley in the front office. Like, you have a good group of people like-minded people who put a serious emphasis on communication. And that is something that has not been a priority in the past. And we're going to talk more about that next, but I really do think it's important to have a good foundation and just a good culture. Like, you think about teams like, I know I always use Boston as an example, but like, if you look at all the players that come in and, I've always heard good things about this locker room. They hold each other to a certain standard. Or, as horrible as this is, like when Colby Cave passed away, the entire NHL community came together to help Emily Cave and, pull their resources together to get things, to the hospital or to her, whatever the case may be. And it's important because at the end of the day, you are family. You are. It's a special bond that you have. And it's important to really, like I said, put an emphasis on that. But coming up next, we're going to talk about specifics within the Flames organizations and how we can expand upon that. And we will be right back after this. But before, I want to talk to you about FanDuel. Summertime means baseball, the NBA Finals, the Stanley Cup Final, and more. And you can bet on it all on FanDuel. Right now, new customers get $200 in bonus bets with any winning $5 bet. That's $200 you can use to bet everything from Finals MVP to who's going to hit one out of the park. Is Connor McDavid potentially going to win the Conn Smythe, even if the Oilers lose? Does it go to Bobrovsky? What about the money line for Game 5? Who knows? Put your money where your mouth is on FanDuel. Visit FanDuel.com/lockdown and add a big win to your summer bucket list. FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Thanks, everyone, for hanging out with me today on Locked On Flames. Make sure you subscribe to the show wherever you get your podcasts, as well as YouTube. We are here for you Monday through Friday, 5 days a week, your team every day. What got me thinking about culture and the whole emphasis on building something special in Calgary really started the other day when I was looking on Twitter and I saw Ryan Huska did an interview with 960 talking to Wes Gilbertson and Pat Steinberg. And he talked about how he went to spend a night with Jonathan Huberdeau. And I think that's lovely, especially in the off season. Husk is a busy man. He's got a lot on his plate. But this is a quote from the interview. I went and spent a night with Huberdeau, and we had a great conversation. It's coach and player working to get connected and on the same page, and we're all here for the same reasons. We want our players to be the best they can possibly be, because in turn, it makes our team stronger. I do have to appreciate that, because Jonathan Huberdeau has not had the easiest time acclimating to Calgary, and it hasn't really been nice. The noise got loud. It has been loud his first 2 seasons in Calgary, and why would you not want to support a player who clearly has went from playing in a system that fit his style of play to the exact opposite? And Blake Coleman talked about it, how you have to get acclimated to the altitude change and whatever, and all that. It's a lot. It's not just playing on the ice. And I think it's important. And I know people are like, well, you can't just baby him. He's a grown man. It's not about babying him or coddling him or any of the other players. It's building that support and knowing hey, Huska, I really like when I'm on a line with this person, or we set things up this way. That I found that to be where I was thriving the most. Or, hey, Huberdeau, have you thought about passing better? No, I'm just kidding. I am just kidding. Oh my God, please don't kill me. But have you thought about, maybe switching this up and not being afraid to shoot the puck? Would you consider, playing on a line with, this guy and this guy, and playing fewer minutes? $10.5 million, you really are playing less minutes, but that is a whole nother conversation. Everyone needs to be on the same page of the same book, in the same sentence of the same paragraph. And I feel like I have been saying that quite literally for 4 years. And there have been 67,000 different books that we have all grabbed from to try to make this team a winning team. And last year was a good step in the right direction. You have a general manager and a coach that see eye to eye. They have the same vision. It's not, screw those kids. It's let's integrate our young players that we have drafted into this lineup and make it work. It's not just about doing things for punitive reasons, or everyone there is on the same page, and that's wonderful. That's wonderful, because it really didn't feel like that for the season prior. And Huberdeau came to the Flames after that team had one heck of a season. No one saw that season coming, that kind of success. People were kind of saying, if they make it out of the first round of the playoffs, I will consider that a success. That's a win. And they did that. And they couldn't get the job done against Edmonton, and that's okay. Because I don't think they had much left in the tank. They had no tank. Nothing in the tank. No, they should tank. Just kidding. Please do not take me seriously when I say things like that. But he was coming into a team that had just come off of such great success, lost 2 of their superstars, and was seen as an easy replacement for Gaudreau. And that living up to that expectation is hard. He has not lived up to that expectation, and he probably never will. And He's 30 years old, 31 years old. Like, I don't, there's nothing you can do there. Um, there are things you can do to, elevate that success, but you're not going to see 115-point Jonathan Huberdeau in Calgary. It's not going to happen. And I am proud of the Flames for really putting an emphasis on this teamwork, this communication, the sort of open door policy that's been integrated after a bad season where it was just rancid. And I think back to that horrible season, the kids were getting called up, maybe not even to necessarily play, but just to be around the team. Jacob Pelletier went and picked Coronado up at the airport, or Huberdeau taking Pelletier under his wing and calling Huberdeau his dad. Like, it's important to have those relationships with your teammates and strong, healthy relationships. And Huberdeau and Sharon Govich both talked about how their chemistry on the ice got better when they started spending time off the ice together. They would build Legos together. I think that would be incredible to watch, and to like have them mic'd up and do that for an evening. But it's not a dig at anyone else, because I mean, philosophically, this team feels like it's in a very different place than it was last off season. Like this time last year, things feel okay. They have finally declared a direction. They took that big task at hand, trading those free agents, and now Conroy has to tackle the draft. And this is the first top 10 pick in a very long time. What kind of player is he going to bring into this locker room? Is it going to be another player that was involved in a criminal investigation and you willingly draft him? Or is it going to be a player that has good qualities and he doesn't have any ongoing investigations, or I think character problems is like kind of hard to define, because like when you're 17 years old and you're considered an NHL prospect or draft prospect, especially a first rounder, you're gonna have an ego. You're 17 years old, of course. But that's a very different character issue than like just being a menace, being a horrible teammate, like a Mitchell Miller situation. So you want to bring the good players and the good energy and the good personalities and a standard to your locker room, and you can't afford to deviate from that plan. You just can't do it. Coming up next, we're going to talk about moral victories and why it is okay to kind of take them, and you shouldn't feel bad about feeling good about certain things. And we will be right back after this break. A lot of life is unpredictable, but a good life insurance plan gives your family a financial safety net to protect against some of the unknowns. With Policygenius, you can find life insurance policies that start at just $292 per year for $1 million of coverage. Some options are 100% online and let you avoid unnecessary medical exams. It is so important to have that safety net, because you truly never know when something could happen and you don't want to be unprepared for it. Policygenius helps you easily compare your options from America's top insurers in just a few clicks. Their award-winning agents can even walk you through the process step by step. Your work life insurance policy may not offer enough protection for your family's needs. Even worse, it may not come with you when you leave your job. Get peace of mind by finding the right life insurance with Policygenius. Head to policygenius.com or click the link in the description to get your free life insurance quotes and see how much you can save. That's policygenius.com. Thank you, everyone, for hanging out with me today on Locked On Flames. Make sure you are following me on Twitter at JessBelmosto. A lot of great conversations going on there. Mainly just me talking to myself about my interests, but occasionally, no. Lots of fun Flames conversations going on there because I think everyone is excited for the draft. I had a dream last night that Tisha Ginla got drafted first overall. And everyone was like freaking out. And obviously Macklin Celebrini has been poised as the number one overall pick for how long now? So, it's a good place to be. But that's one of the things that is important, right? Like, you have to be able to find happiness and joy and fulfillment in your game, even when there's not a lot at stake. You look at this Flames team and you say, what's really on the line here? Maybe a wild card spot if things go really, really good. Or maybe a top 5 lottery pick. If you trade, Markstrom and Mangiapane. Like, which one sounds more rewarding to a player? Certainly a wild card spot, because players do not want to be bad. They don't want to stink. And going through that is hard. Do any of us enjoy getting up and going to work knowing it's going to be just a crap show? No. Personally, I don't enjoy that. I don't enjoy going to work and knowing that chaos is going to ensue because someone didn't meet a deadline or whatever the case may be, right? It's important to keep a standard because you want people to behave in a certain manner. You want people associated with those people to behave in a certain manner. Like, I think about Ottawa back in 2017, 2016, 2017, when Erik Karlsson and Mike Hoffman had that god-awful feud and how it extended beyond just the two of them. And it didn't even start with the two of them. It started with Hoffman's girlfriend at the time. And it was just deep personal attacks. You don't want that. And you don't want that around your locker room. You don't want that around, anyone really. But if you end up in a situation where I don't think you're going to find yourself in a situation that's that intense. I mean, I could be incredibly wrong. I've been wrong about things going on in this locker room before. But I think you have to truly vet the people you're bringing in, and not just hey, let's call his best friend or the coach he had great success under. No, you need to do a little bit of digging and figure out, let's use Mike Hoffman as an example. In the past 5 years, 6 years, however long it's been, has there been an improvement in his behavior? Because, it might not have started with him, but we do know that there were some words exchanged. Or, hey, is this person that Mike Hoffman isn't, I think he's married now. I don't think it's to the same woman, but what is the dynamic there? You really, and people are like, well, it's really not that deep. It is, because you're bringing these people around your team that is trying to survive an 82 game season, not even win, get through an 82 game season. And yeah, you hope to win, but let's be realistic here. The Flames are not going to the Stanley Cup final anytime soon. It's fine if you don't want to play in Calgary. It is fine. This is not it's not for everyone. As we have seen. There's no need to have hostages. The management has made that clear. If you want to trade, you just got to say so. And they'll figure it out. Do you a solid. Do themselves a solid too, right? And along the way, there will be pieces that just aren't going to fit. Maybe personality-wise or maybe style-wise. Like none of this is permanent. And that's what's great and why Conroy really needs to approach this free agency with caution, I would say. We need to look at things as like chunks of the short-term plan so you don't end up locking up a guy like Evander Kane. Okay, let's be honest here. Not exactly the greatest guy around, not exactly the cleanest reputation, and comes with a lot of baggage. You don't want that guy on your team because it just draws a whole lot of negativity and negative attention. This team, we know, is going to have a lot of that for many different reasons, between just not being the team that they were a few years ago and, you know, the whole Dubé situation coming up. Like, the court proceedings are continuing and, you know, they aren't going to extend a qualifying offer to him by the end of the month. So that's that. Like, there's nothing you can do other than be smart and really think about your decisions. You know, again, I think of the Bruins a few years ago who signed Mitchell Miller, who committed a hate crime. Never really apologized. The victim's still impacted to it to this day. There's other players that, you know, have done things as teenagers, but it's not like it's typical teenager stuff. Like, this stuff carries over. You know, if you egg someone's house, do kids even egg houses anymore? Like, that is age appropriate. Violently harassing and beating and bullying someone, that's not age appropriate. So it's important you bring people with integrity into this locker room. You have people that, you know, respect the organization, respect the players in the room, that are willing to come into this situation and make it better and make the absolute most out of it. So July 1st will be an interesting situation. I'm looking forward to it. But before that, we have the draft next week. And that is so fun. I'm so excited. I believe some of the hosts will be headed to the Sphere. So definitely you'll want to check out their coverage. I will not be going to Vegas. It's unfortunately the end of the month at work, and I cannot do that in my line of work. But that will do it for me on today's episode of Locked On Flames. Thank you all so much for tuning in, and I look forward to our coverage leading up to the draft and through free agency, because Locked On Flames is here for you Monday through Friday, 5 days a week, your team every day. You know, tomorrow, maybe we explore some more free agents that could fit on the team. Or maybe Craig Conroy gets this Markstrom trade done. But until then, stay safe, stay warm, stay cool, stay hydrated, and remember to be kind.